Well, it's so good to have all of you with us today. My name is Chris, and I hope you had an amazing Christmas and New Year's, a time just to spend with friends and family. And well, if you've been around TCC for any length of time, I'm sure you've heard this one phrase: we're one church, right where you are. And I love weekends like this where we're all gathered all around in different places, living rooms, bedrooms, kitchens, on a computer, maybe your phone, on the TV, but yet we're all connecting together. As we just brought 2021 to a close and we're starting 2022, I wanted to pause to, quickly look back, to reflect a bit. You see, I think about a year ago at this time, we were bringing 2020 to an end and looking forward to 2021. And as we were, bringing 2020 to an end, we all know that year we had words like unprecedented. It was a word that I literally said I'll never say again, but I guess I'm saying it now. And there's words like quarantine and words like social distancing and words like essential. I mean, to this day, some of you are the essential workers. I mean, you haven't slowed down. You continue to stand in the gap, helping people. And I just want to say, thank you. If you're one of those essential workers, thank you for continuing to give all of you to help people. Then we had, this one name, and if this is your name, I'm so sorry. I mean, the name Karen got completely hijacked, and then dictionary.com, stated that the word of the year for 2020 was, pandemic. And all of that led us into 2021. And a year ago, we were all gathered online just like this. And I shared one word, a word that I just encouraged all of us to, let's just hold on this word for the year of 2021. The word was, reflect. In fact, I developed a reflect guide to help all of us reflect over 2020, to help us lead ourselves in a healthy way through 2021. And this reflect guide was anchored to a thought, an insight that the Apostle Paul wrote to the church in Rome. You can find it in Romans chapter 8. And this is what Paul wrote. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. That God works good in all things, even in years like 2020, that God can take the most difficult of moments, the most horrific of moments, the most fractured of moments, the loneliness of moments. I mean, God can take any one of our moments in life that we just want to disregard, but God, if we love him, and this means if we trust him, if we keep our eyes locked in on him, that guess what? He can take those moments and he can work them for good. And so 2021 was about reflecting so we could learn. 2021 was about reflecting so we wouldn't lose the wisdom that we could to gain from such a difficult year. That 2021 was reflecting on how God did work through a difficult year and how God was going to work through 2021. So as we bring 2021 to a close, and now we're staring at 2022, I was thinking, what word should be for 2022? If reflect was for 2021, what's this one word that should guide us throughout this entire year? We'll get to the word in a moment, but I will give you a hint. For 2022, this word still starts with R. Now, the one thing I know coming out of 2021 is, the meme game in 2021 was really, really strong. I mean, I don't know who comes up with all these memes, who takes a picture, a statement, a thought, puts them together and shoves them out into social media world. But whoever comes up with these, they're quite genius. And in fact, I found myself laughing a lot over 2021. Why? Because, laughter does the soul a lot of good. There's this one meme with Will Smith that simply says, does anyone else feel troubled by the fact that the name of next year is literally 2021? I mean, spelled out W-O-N. Or there's this meme. 2020 is finally over. That was the craziest year ever. And then 2021, but wait, there's more. There's this meme. Working from home in March 2020, and then, working from home in March 2021. But the one meme that probably states it all, and this can get attached to so many different images, was simply this. I want to cancel my 2021 subscription. I've experienced my free 7-day trial, and I'm not interested. Didn't you find yourself in 2021 going, wait a minute. I thought this year was supposed to be different. I thought this year was going to look different than 2020. I thought that somehow we would make our way out of it. And then it just felt like, if you remember that great classic movie, Groundhog's Day, it just felt like 2021. We just kept waking up and, it was just the same day over and over again. In fact, as I've reflected on 2021, it felt like it was a year of wondering. Now, what's interesting about this word wonder or wondering is that it has, two very opposing definitions. Let me frame it this way. If you put an exclamation point next to wondering, this is like about amazement, like awe, right? And we love that feeling of, oh, man, I'm in wonder, I'm wondering, there's something about the awe, the amazement attached to the exclamation point. But what if you shifted the exclamation point out and put a question mark? Now this feeling attached to wondering is a feeling of uncertainty, curiosity that doesn't lead to something of awe. It's curiosity that's filled with the unknown, uncertainty. You see, we look at this one word and they have polarizing definitions. And I know for me, 2021 has felt like it's just been a season of wondering. Wondering, is it ever going to be different? Wondering, how is this all going to work out? Wondering what to do next? Wondering, how is this all, one day as we look back, what is it going to look like? And here's the danger of wondering with the exclamation point. Wondering, if we're not careful, if we're not intentional, will lead to wandering. I had to fight against wandering in 2021. As a leader, leading incredible churches, an incredible team of people to impact communities for Jesus, I had to personally, I was very cognizant that if I wasn't careful, my wondering would lead to wandering. And we as churches could not afford for any of us to wander through 2021. Why? Because our communities, people, needed to know the hope, the peace that is anchored to Jesus. And I felt personally like I had to fight against the wandering side of my leadership. I've always been clear about where to go. I've always had vision to say, hey, let's tackle this next goal, this next hill, this next mountain, no matter how impossible the obstacle is in front of me. I've always been that leader that says, hey, together we can get over it, we can get through it, we can get under it. No matter what, we will get to the other side. And I found myself in 2021 wanting to wander and going, no, we can't afford to wander. Personally, I've been a person of goals. I've set really big goals for myself personally, and I found myself fighting against just personally wandering through the entire year. Have you? Emotionally, just not sure I had it in me. Emotionally, not sure where to leverage it all to try to, it's hard to lead yourself or lead a team, lead a company, lead a business, lead your kids when it's hard to see what's next. When wondering is causing you to wander. And here's what I know, and I'm sure I'm not the only person. And here's what I know is spiritually, 2021 had a lot of wondering and wandering attached to it. Spiritually, is this how you would frame your 2021? With wondering and wandering? It was interesting over all of 2021. One of the common themes that we heard across all of our churches was people were taking a step back into our physical campuses, is how great it was to be back worshiping, back together, back in the gathering together. You see, one of the things we say a lot at TCC is that the church isn't about the building. In fact, we say, well, you don't go to church, we are the church, because we recognize that the church has nothing to do with the building. Never was about the building. Never has been about the building. To this day, it's not about the building, because we are the church, people. But one of the things that we really discovered, I was in a team meeting, and Ben, one of our campus pastors, he made this simple statement as we were talking around, the physical gatherings of our churches. And Ben made this statement. He goes, hey, the church isn't about the building, but the church is about the gathering. It was such a simple but profound, insightful statement. All of us just resonated with that. We're like, yeah, it has nothing to do with the building, but it has everything to do with the gathering. I mean, what I've said a lot after I heard that statement, because I started thinking through my marriage relationship with my wife. So work with me on this. If marriage was only about communication and it didn't matter how that communication happened, then I could have a marriage with my wife and all we would communicate through is, on the phone or FaceTime or Zoom video calls or Google Meet or whatever the platform is. If it was just about communication, we could communicate and never be together. And just that thought alone, if you have been married, are married, dating someone, you know how ridiculous that sounds. Because what we know is in a relationship, a marriage relationship, a parent relationship, a friendship relationship, there's something about being present. There's something about being together. And I share all of this knowing that all of us are connecting online. Our online campus is a great tool. It really is. It's a great opportunity for all of us in different seasons to take a step in. But the online church was never meant to be the end-all, be-all. In fact, we see our online campus as a bridge to help people take a step into one of our physical gatherings. And we see our online church as a place where people, if they can't for a weekend, it substitutes. Just like my phone is a great substitute to talk with my wife if I'm traveling on business. FaceTime is a great substitute if I'm away from the home for an extended period of time so I can see my kids, I can see my wife. It's a great tool. I'm grateful for the tool. But if I never had time with my wife together, if I never had personal time with my kids together, if I never had time to gather with my friends personally together, right, the relationship starts to quickly erode. You see, what we know is the church is not about the building. It is about the gathering. So for 2021, the word for the year was reflect. And as I was thinking about 2022, the word that, God placed on my heart is the word reignite. Spiritually, to reignite, to light a fire, to set ablaze. The Apostle Paul was staying in the ancient city of Corinth. It was a city perfectly positioned almost halfway between the famous city of Sparta and Athens. Corinth, Rome had rebuilt after it burned it down and rebuilt it to its splendor and its glory. And the Apostle Paul had spent about 18 months there working as a tent maker, and he was coaching these new and young churches that were springing up all over the place. And one of those churches was located in the famous city of Rome. It was in Corinth that Paul wrote this letter, or it's a book that we now call Romans, but it was a letter to the church in Rome. And it's there in Corinth that he was writing this letter. And why that is so important is we have to understand the culture going on in Corinth, because this was, well, where Paul was living. In fact, right in the middle of the city of Corinth stood the famous, the temple to, well, Apollos. Several years ago, I had the opportunity to go to Corinth, and I actually took this picture, and well, the picture doesn't even do it justice. I mean, it's right in the middle of Corinth, up on a, hilltop that overlooked the entire city stood this temple. I mean, to this day, there's 7 pillars remaining, but the archaeologists say that there were somewhere between 40 to 42 of these pillars, each one standing some 7 meters tall, almost 23 feet tall. I mean, the temple to Apollos was the epicenter of Corinth. Everywhere you would go in Corinth, you could see this temple. And Paul, living in Corinth, working in Corinth, wrote this one thought that I want to share with you to the church in Rome, but it's so applicable to you and me to this day. You see, Paul wrote this. He goes, never be lacking in zeal. That word zeal literally means speedy diligence. It was a word in the Greek that meant, well, when you go to accomplish something, when you set a goal, when you're on mission, when you understand what you're about and where God is leading you, do that with speedy diligence. The opposite side of what Paul was saying is, don't be lazy. I mean, he could have said that, but hey, never be lacking in zeal sounds so much more positive than don't be lazy. But the word we can't miss is the word never. He's like, hey, just don't be it. Don't be lazy. Why? Because Paul understood that God was on the move, that God was using people like you and me to be his church, a gathering of Jesus followers to carry the message of Jesus everywhere. It's why I love what God is doing through all of our churches across the state of Pennsylvania and beyond. It just reflects what Paul was doing sitting in Corinth, writing a letter to Rome, to a church that was starting up, to a church that were passionate about telling everyone there about Jesus. And so Paul says, hey, never be lazy. Never lack in zeal. Live your life with speedy diligence to accomplish what God is doing in you and through you within your family, within your business, within your community. And then Paul writes, hey, but keep your spiritual fervor. That Greek word for fervor is zeo, which means boil, hot. It was a word image of a roaring fire with a cauldron sitting on it or a pot sitting on it, pouring water into that pot and watching it come to a boil. He says, hey, but keep your spiritual fervor. No matter what's going on, no matter how bad your year is, no matter how much, you disagree with the political framework or the cultural framework or what your boss decides to do, no matter the outside inputs into your life, just never and keep your spiritual fervor. Keep boiling hot. But then he puts a comma and he tells us how. He goes, serving the Lord. I mean, serving is all about, faith in action. He's like, how do you keep on mission with speedy diligence? How do you never allow that fire within you, that spiritual fervor, how do you not allow that to die? How do you keep it raging? By serving. By serving God. You see, that's why loving people by serving people to Jesus, such a simple statement. And it really frames the heart of the mission of the church. The more we serve each other, the more we serve people we know and don't know, the more we serve our family, the more we serve our boss or the people that work for us, the more we have a heart to serve people, people are going to lean into that type of love. You see, I think about these three words that Paul highlighted. And next to zeal, I just simply wrote the word urgency. Let's live the one life we have with an urgency, with a speedy diligence, knowing that the clock is ticking and we have no idea when our time's going to be done. So with all of us, let's live life with an urgency. And next to fervor, I wrote intensity, boiling hot. Guess what? We can fight the wondering and the wandering. We can go toe-to-toe with those two. Because if we don't, we're not going to live with zeal and fervor. And next to serving, I wrote selflessness. This is all about understanding that our life is about loving people by serving people to Jesus. So the word for 2022, the word for me, and my prayer is it's a word for you, is reignite. In fact, next weekend, we're going to all gather in person again. And I understand if you still have to connect online. Again, our online church is a great tool. But I want to encourage all of you, take a step into one of our physical churches. There's something about gathering together. There's something about worshiping together. There's something about just being together. There's something that will set a fire within you when you walk into a space and realize that God is doing something with his church. And as we make our way through this year, 2022, let's love people by serving people to Jesus. I want to pray for all of you right now, and right when I'm done, we're going to sing a song. And I love this line. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control, because I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control, because God, I want more of you. But remember, when you sing those words, it's not about wanting more of God for yourself. It's all about how are you going to take all of that fire to love people by serving people to Jesus. 2022. Let's be that church. Let's pray. Lord, I just pray that as we all sing these words together, that a fire will erupt within us. A fire that we can't contain, that we can't control. Fire that radiates out from our churches, in our communities, in our families, in the place we work, the places we lead, the place we interact, where people will see a bright light. Not because we have it all figured out, not because we have it all together, not because there's not a part within us that want to wonder and wander, but because of who you are and what you're doing. May we be that church, that gathering of people. In your name I pray. Amen.